Elon Musk first banned working from home, and now he's getting away with free lunches for employees who survived the chopping block at Twitter's headquarters in San Francisco. He says Twitter spends $13 million a year on food service. And that, quote, badge-in records show peak occupancy was 25%, average occupancy below 10%. There are more people preparing breakfast than eating breakfast. They don't even bother serving dinner because there is no one in the building. But the move drew rapid criticism from former Twitter employees. Who would have guessed? All right. A Democrat activist who tweeted, quote, he fired 3/4 of the employees and now he's planning to starve the rest of them. Oh, Mercedes.
I can't.
This is worse than Biden's student loan forgiveness program. I'm serious. Look, Harris, I think that it is a former woke company that is going broke and Elon is trying to save it. And that's really the result of this. When you're talking about the fact that in San Francisco alone, hardly anyone was going to work. They're spending a ton of money on the property itself. Why not make these fundamental changes? So he did come in with the sink. He's making a statement. He's trying to make sure they don't have to go bankrupt, but it's going to be painful. And these Twitter employees, which are snowflakes, can't handle it. And and so we welcome the change. We want to see Twitter really become this platform for free speech and this platform to make sure that it actually can survive when it's being mismanaged by a bunch of liberal, woke, management types that are now gone.
So, Mark, this may be a little frugal of me, and that wouldn't be the first time. But what happened to the 13 million if people weren't eating the food? Like, I hope he was feeding some people. He would be doing that, but the previous execs, what were they doing with that cash?
Yeah, good question. I mean, obviously, you got to pay quite a bit of staff, right? Whether people show up or not, you got to pay the staff. And I hope the staff was showing up to cook the food, even though they absolutely had to cook no food. So, this whole complaint from these Twitter employees, it's falling on deaf ears. I don't think anyone feels sorry for them. I think that these are some of the most entitled employees in the tech space right now. And, when you think about, everything Elon's doing, I mean, he's like the CEO of, I think, 4 different companies right now. Right? I mean, he's working 23 hours a day. He's busting his butt.
I think it's 24.
Is it 24?
I think he sleeps in an oxygen chamber.
That could be true.
That's just what I think.
And to Mercedes' point about this company going woke and broke, I mean, they've lost money for 2 consecutive quarters. They've had negative free cash flow now for 4 consecutive quarters. We are either...
So they're in a recession.
Yeah, and I mean, everyone's either in a recession or just coming out and maybe going back in. But yeah, this company's in a recession. They're struggling, and they need to cut costs and boost revenues.
So, Emily, let's get to the snowflakes. Okay? I mean, they still have jobs. These people could show up or work from home or whatever it is that they choose to do. Why complain about food that they're not even eating?
That's right. That's why it's such a travesty. Anyone who has owned a small business understands that overhead is the most important thing. It is only right when now that there's a change of ownership that you audit and say, okay, $13 million being spent going to waste. Was the additional food given to soup kitchens and the homeless in San Francisco? I especially ask that because there's a lot of regulations around that. So I know in Seattle, unfortunately, well-meaning kitchens had to dump their food because the city wouldn't let them give it to the homeless. Back when I was a practicing attorney in San Francisco, I would literally visit my friends at Google to enjoy the free salmon lunches. We would all the time. It was fine. It was allowed, and we would hang out and enjoy.
I'm just hungry, and that salmon sounds delicious.
Literally, it was like a Michelin-starred meal every day with cupcake tiers and everything. So my point is that the golden era of that tech bubble is not only totally stale, it is so outdated, but it is also fantasy. So for those tech workers to hang on to that, to think that that's real life rather than a golden era of it was, I mean, that was over 10 years ago that we were doing that. So I think it's important as well, final point, that the former CEO, Jack Dorsey, weighed in. He tweeted and said, hey, this was my bad. I grew the company too fast. It's not about Elon Musk. I think it's a constellation of factors, and I wish the employees would be a little bit more forgiving and rational about it.
I wonder wonder if they're sneaking back in just to get the food and then going back to work from home.
I'm sure. Look, Emily makes a really important point. These big tech facilities, I mean, it is like going to a theme park, some of them. I've never been, but I've read about them. I mean, the perks you get. Bloomberg was reporting that they were giving Twitter employees days of rest. So, like, you censor on a Monday and on a Tuesday, you get the day off to relax from, like, crowding out the Hunter Biden story.
Censor on a Monday.
It's true. And then you compare that and you get these lavish meals on your way out the door. And you compare that to steelworkers, to first responders, to meat packers, to teachers who do their best every day, show up for work. Many of them, when you look at our meat packers during the pandemic, they don't get lavish meals. They don't get days of rest on Tuesdays.
You mean they don't get the meat they pack?
Yes.
Right. That's what you're saying.
There you go. They don't get the meat they pack.
Wow.
Exactly.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.